guys, it's Margie again today with another movie review for you of the 2000 film Space Cowboys. This film starred Clint Eastwood, Tommy Lee Jones, Donald Sutherland, James Garner, James Cromwell, Marcia Gay Harden, William Devon, Lauren Dean, Courtney B. Vance, Barbara Babcock, Nade, I can't really say that one, Raid Servid Zyga, Blair Brown, Jay Leno, yes, the Jay Leno, he had a really small cameo, but I thought he was worth mentioning, Nils Allen Stewart, Chris Wilde, and Steve Monroe. Okay, so the basic plot for this movie is that there is this group of 4 guys that were into, like, you know, airplanes and space travel and all that kind of stuff in the 50s, and they were replaced when they decided to send the first monkey into space, so they were essentially let go, but it's now, you know, however many years later, 40 years later, and there is a missile, well, it's not a missile, I'm sorry, it's like a satellite that is in space, that is falling out of space, but it doesn't belong to the U.S., it belongs to the Russians, and the Russians really want to keep it up there. So why does the U.S. care? Well, because it wants to keep good relations with the Russians. But it has this old program in it from that, that group of 4 designed. So, none of the newer technology people know what to do about it. So NASA gives a ring to this group of, well, really Clint Eastwood's character, and Clint then calls the other 3, but they say, hey, we're gonna, after much, persuasion from Clint Eastwood, and y'all know how what Clint Eastwood does persuasion, let me do this. Alright, he convinces them to let him and the 4 guys go back into space, and obviously they're now old dudes. They're all, like, supposed to be 60 and over, so anyway, it's like the story of them trying to get up into space and make the they still have to meet, like, physical requirements and all that kind of stuff for this to get into space, so it's them trying to get there. I know, long plot. Oh, mercy. Okay, so let me tell you who was directed and produced by, because apparently I forgot that yet again. This is awful. Okay, directed and produced by Clint Eastwood, music by Lenny Niehaus, edited by Joel Cox, cinematography by Jack N. Green, written by Ken Kaufman and Howard Klossner, produced by Andrew Laser, who also produced the 2008 movie Get Smart, so if that gives you any connection to his work, and Tom Rooker, who also produced Unforgiven and Bridges to Madison County, which, Clint Eastwood was affiliated with also. So, anyway. And some of you, just as a side note, some of you are like, I don't know why you're telling me who produced it and what else they've done. I'm trying to give you a connection of, like, what else you can, what kind of film you can expect, because a lot of times if you're like, so-and-so produced this, you're like, okay, I kind of, know what kind of films they like and, what type of movie this is going to kind of be, what kind of feel, and yada yada. So, connections, people. I'm trying to give you connections. I enjoy it when people are like, tell me. Plus, these guys worked hard on this film, guys, so they deserve credit for their work. So, I'm really big into, like, giving credit where credit's due, as I'm sure you can tell from all my previous reviews. Of all the list of people I read to you every time, thank you, you're so sweet for listening. So, anyway, alright, let's jump into performances with this one. Clint Eastwood obviously plays the main character in this one, and I felt like he was a little wooden at times, but, a lot of people complain of that, and him as, like, a whole. So, I don't know, I thought it was good, and I thought that he was just a little wooden, but that's kind of his acting style. So, I thought on the whole he was good. I did, but especially like the first, 45 minutes to an hour of the film, he's pretty wooden. Again, that's his acting style, so I'm not really, I'm just saying. Moving on to Tommy Lee Jones, so good. Such a lovely performance. And while we're talking about Mr. Tommy Lee Jones, I thought he had, like, almost all the good lines in this movie, surprisingly. I mean, not surprisingly, because he has a lot of the good lines in a lot of movies he's been in, but I'm just saying he has like a bunch of the comedy and, you know, comedy and stuff like that. So, yes, he was solid. He was so good. And I didn't think there was anything else he could have done. He was very emotional when he needed to be emotional, which is what a lot of people complain about with him. They're like, oh, he never cries and yada yada. Okay. He brought it to the table. Thank you very much. I'm a big Tommy Lee Jones fan, so that's why I'm kind of defending him. Okay, Donald Sutherland I thought was good. I thought he was really, really good. Same thing with James Garner. Great performances, and really great to see these four guys, these four real heavyweights, get together and do a movie. So good to see it, and I really enjoyed this movie because of them, and it was just good to see them and see them act and together and all of that. That was my incentive to see this movie. Plus, it had Tommy Lee Jones in it. Did I mention that? Okay. Moving on. Everybody else here that I mentioned in the list, guys, was great. I did want to make a special little comment on Marcia Gay Harden, though. I felt like she was something about it. She didn't really seem appropriate for this role. I don't know, and I don't think it was her acting. I just don't think she should have been cast. I don't know, something about her character, her performance, or, you know, something was off for me, and I think that weakened the film on the whole, but I don't think it was all her fault, you know. I thought her acting was pretty good, but just something about it didn't work for me. So, anyway, James Cromwell was good, but, you know, a little lackluster at times, but I thought on the whole he was good. So, anyway, everybody else that I mentioned here was very solid on the whole. I did make special note of Steve Monroe, who was also in, who I just recognized. I was like, oh my gosh, where have I seen this guy before? Well, if you thought that too when you saw this movie, if you've seen this movie, no, you're not losing your mind, because he was in Miss Congeniality. He plays the director of the pageant's son. That ends up, well, I'm not going to spoil Miss Congeniality for you, but anyway, you know who I'm talking about if you don't get on IMDb right this moment. Okay, after you finish watching this review. So, anyway, yes, just a little pop-up from Mr. Steve Monroe here. Okay, let's jump into the directing. I thought the directing was good. I thought the directing was really well. Excuse me, really well done. And there wasn't anything that I could complain about. There were some really nice ways the camera moved. You know, I thought the project was brought together really well on the whole. I loved that Clint really, I felt like he really respected, the other three major actors that he was, and, you know, James Cromwell is no joke either. So, all of the major actors that he was working with, I felt like he respected, and I felt like he let them do a lot of what they wanted to do with the, you know, the script and everything, and I just love him for that, because, you know, there was definitely their fingerprints on it. And, you know, some performances you see with people, you're like, this doesn't even look like you. Like, you're so changed, and I don't know if this, you know, a lot of times it's the director that didn't like it. Well, I think Clint Eastwood basically just said, you know what you're doing, do what you do, and they did, and it was beautiful. I'm just saying. Okay, so great job to Mr. Eastwood here. The music for this was about until about the last 40 minutes of the movie, and then it was really lovely. So, great job for the last 40 minutes. I don't know, it just didn't really seem appropriate up until that point, based on the type of the movie. That's just me. And not that the score was ugly, it just didn't really seem to fit with the movie, for me personally, but anyway, which the score was by Lenny Niehaus, who's also worked only with Clint, actually, since 2003, so obviously he scored Mystic River and, you know, some other major films like that. Editing was by Joel Cox. I thought the editing for this was good. Got a little draggy, again, it did, but because it's like 2 hours and something, but there wasn't too many scenes I would have cut. I thought the pacing on the whole was pretty good. And he has actually, Joel Cox actually only works with Clint Eastwood since 1986. So obviously Clint and Mr. Cox here have been working together a very long time, and they work well together. Okay, cinematography by Jack N. Green. Jack N. Green also did the cinematography for Unforgiven, so obviously he has worked with Clint before. Good. You know, good. Nothing that blew me away, but the lighting and everything was good. There were some really lovely images, really lovely shots, beautiful ways that the camera moved. Didn't, you know, stand out really that hugely much to me, but solid. Very solid. The writing for this was by Ken Kaufman, who wrote The Missing and Expendables 2, and Howard Klausner, who wrote The Grace Card, if that gives you any connection to them. I thought the writing for this was good, and a lot of the comedy was good. I wish they would have gone a little step further with a little more comedy, and I felt like there was a few missed opportunities. And I don't know if this was editing. There was one scene that really stood out where it's like they started the scene and they had about 20 seconds of the scene and it literally ended. And I was like, wait, if you'd kept going with that scene, like you could have made so many funny lines out of that. And that they may have, and it was edited out or whatever. But anyway, yeah, there were some missed opportunities as far as, like, you know, for more comedy, if you ask me. But they didn't want it to just be a ha-ha fest, I don't think. So, yeah, I thought the writing on the whole was pretty good. You know, a little stiff, but, you know, anyway. Okay, so, guys, I know this one's just kind of all over the place, but let's talk about this Parent's Guide. Let's moving on to sexual content. There's some sexual references, and we actually see our 4 main characters completely nude from behind. Yeah. Ooh, I'm not going to comment on that. Donald Sutherland's character is portrayed as a bit of a playboy, so he's trying to get all these younger women to go out on dates with him and that kind of thing. So, not, you know, that's where some of the sexual references come from, but it's not really dirty, you know, so, you know, just be aware of that. Violence and gore, there's a throw-up scene, there's, a couple of mild fist fights, there's a little, you know, suspense and peril about what's going to happen and that kind of thing, but not really anything major that stood out to me. Drinking and smoking, there is drinking, but it's not ridiculous, and there might be a little smoking, I'm sorry, I can't remember, but no drugs. So, anyway, there's like some, you know, needles and taking of blood and injections and stuff in a doctor's office, but so that would probably go under like violence and gore if blood bothers you. But jumping on to the language, guys, not that good. And not really as far as like major words, but so many minor curse words that it's just like, again, they just like keep hitting you and you're like, ooh, enough, please. 2 S, 24 S words, 3 B words, 14 A words, 7 GD words, 13 D words, and 22 H words. So, yeah, you add all that up, and you got some, you know, you've got a pretty good bit of language there, but it wasn't awful, and again, you know, I'm just telling you this, so I know you're asking if you're a parent, is there, like, one scene I can skip through a bunch of this? No, it's peppered equally throughout, so you can't avoid it. But, anyway, so that was kind of a downer, but anyway, guys, let's wrap this one up. Here's my stood out notes here. Odd black and white opening sequence. Because it looks more like blue and white. And when they go back to showing like 1958 and stuff like that, it was kind of strange, honestly. But, I mean, it didn't really bother me because there's only like, you know, 15 minutes of it, maybe less than that, 10 minutes. But it was just kind of like, this is really weird. So that was kind of strange, but, you know, that's preference. I mean, it didn't ruin the movie or anything. Tommy Lee Jones has most of the good lines, just saying. And I'm not being prejudiced. He really does have, like, most of the comedic lines. And I just want to say, guys, critics really liked this movie on the whole, and audiences did not. So, which is, you know, I don't know. That's kind of unusual. I mean, because it's not really supposed to be like an artsy film, but, you know, I try to watch every movie as a critic, but I probably watched this one a little more as a fan just because I'm, you know, fans of the 4 main guys that were in it, and I really wanted to see them, you know, work and act, and, you know, major actors and stuff, I try to be, if I like their work, I try to be as familiar as I can with their work, so pretty much watch everything that they've done if it's, you know, clean enough. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. I wouldn't watch it. Would I watch it again? No. I wouldn't, but, you know, it's a one-time watch, and again, if you are fans of any of the 4 of these, you need to check it out. You do. I mean, we're diehards, right? You got to see everything that you possibly can from the actors that you love, or in this case, Mr. Tommy Lee Jones. Okay, so I'm giving this film 3 stars out of 5, guys, because I thought the directing was great. The screenplay and general concept was good. There was some good acting there, but it just didn't really wow me to death, but it was definitely great to see the 4 main dudes that were in it. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for checking out my review of the 2000 film Space Cowboys. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.